Everybody, welcome back to Rode and Reel. I'm JP, and today we're going to be talking about some beginning fly fishing tips. These are some things that I didn't really pick up on until well into my fly fishing journey. I'm pretty much self-taught. I've been on a few guided trips and things like that, so I get those pointers here and there. But for the most part, these are things that I didn't do at the beginning that I really should have, and so I'm going to share this knowledge with you. So the number one thing that I see most fly fishermen do when they're starting out is they take off and they just start barreling towards the water, and they want to get a fly on their line and they want to send it out there. One of the things that I've learned to do, even when I'm just hiking or backpacking or doing things like that, is to approach the water with caution. Stay low, watch your shadows. You want to kind of do that with the intent of seeing what is happening in the water. Right now it's about the middle of October, and fish are really starting to change where they're at in the water. A lot of times going into the fall, you would be used to hitting those nice deep runs and deep pools and things that you were hitting in the summer when everything was hot and the fish were down low. Right now what's happening is the fish are kind of sticking close to the side, and so if you just run right up on a fish and just start casting, odds are you're gonna spook all those fish out of those lanes that are right up against the shoreline. So what I've started doing is not even rigging up my fly rod until I get to the water, and that's twofold, because I could be too eager to get on the water and scare all those fish. Also, it's nice to get down here and see what's actually hitting the water, see if there's a hatch happening, see what's going on. Now, as you get more experience and you start to keep those notes and things, or if you start to talk to other fly fishermen that are on the water at the same time as you, they can say, hey, go down there about 9 o'clock with blue wing olive, or some sort of elk hair caddis or something that's going to be on the water, and that's a little bit different. But for the most part, like today, I've never fished this section of river right here, and so I walked up, no idea what to fish, and sure enough there's some beta sashes that are landing on the water, and the fish are coming up and having some nice eats, and so that's what I'm going to be fishing with. All right, the next thing I want to talk about, and you've probably seen this in a few of my other videos, is having a good net. Nets are very important, and I think they're often overlooked. I fished I don't know how many times without a net, and you think, oh, I'm just gonna land this fish, no problems. You go to leader it and it pops off. When if you would have had a net and you could scoop it, you would have picked it up no problem. Also, a lot of times when you don't have a net, you could start skipping them over rocks or branches or things that are in the water, trying to get them a little bit closer to you, and it does a lot of harm to the fish. Another thing without a net is I may have to step out into the water just a little bit more, and I can really mess up the area that I'm fishing in, so that I have to change spots when really there's probably 5 or 6 fish down in that hole. So something to keep in mind. And remember, you want a good rubber basket net, or a silicone basket net, not the knotted fabric nylon type. So get yourself a good net and make sure you get a nice way to secure that net, okay? You don't want it dragging all over the ground, even though half the time I just toss mine on the ground, but keep that in mind. Now, before we talk about actually getting on the water, another thing you want to do is you want to find a way to best secure your gear. So maybe you have a friend that's into fly fishing, and you can borrow some of their stuff. See what you want to wear, right? You can wear a sling pack. I usually wear a hip pack. People wear backpacks. Whatever it is, you want to be comfortable. I don't like very much stuff dangling off of me because I'm a very sloppy fisherman, and I tend to get tangled in that stuff. So I don't do the big lanyard and things like that, but maybe that is for you. Find a good local fly shop, find a good local fly guide, and maybe you can try out some of their stuff on the water. And $200 investment on the water with the fly guide could save you $700 or $800 on down the road with stuff that you don't really need. So one of the biggest things that I did whenever I first started fly fishing is I thought that I had to keep that fly up in the air, right? River runs through it, Brad Pitt, and all this different stuff, right? You want these big, long, 100-foot casts. That's just simply not the case. I would say that 75% of the time, I am fishing probably within 20 or 30 feet of where I'm at. And for a fly rod that's 9 feet long with a 9-foot to 11-foot leader or something like that, that can simply just be done with a flick of a wrist. So when you're going out here, there goes another blue wing olive coming out. And so you can come out here like this and just have a little excess line like this, And by properly loading your line, you can actually shoot this through and not have to do any of those false casts or any of that other stuff. So you're just simply shooting that out there like that. And make sure that you actually put this on your finger, right? Whenever you're stripping that through, you want to make sure that you have a grip on it. The last thing you want to do is have it out here like this and get a strike and you miss that fish. Another thing that I was in the bad habit of doing is I would leave my line on the ground whenever I'd been stripping it out. And you think that it's so much work to get the line out that you don't want to reel it all back in when you shift spots. Well, if you're in any place like this that has any type of vegetation or rocks or different things on the ground, last thing you want to do is be dragging that fly line across that, getting tangled. It can really take a lot of time out of your day if you're dealing with all that stuff instead of fishing. And another thing that I did whenever I first started fly fishing is I went out and I bought this really nice fly rod and took it out on the water and found out that I didn't really like the way that it worked. When I bought my next fly rod, I probably went out and practiced with probably a dozen or so different fly rods at a good fly shop. They showed me how to properly load the rod whenever I'm making those casts. You want to really keep everything nice and short. You don't want these big giant movements that you're doing all day. The last thing you want to do is have to cut your day short because your shoulder's hurting because you keep doing all this stuff. All right, and then lastly, whenever I was first getting into fly fishing, I did not take advice very well. People would tell me, oh, you're doing this wrong, you're not doing this right. And I'd be like, oh, I can get it, I've been fishing for years, I don't need your advice. And what I really started doing is then, as maybe I matured, maybe I got a little bit older, but I started paying attention to what other people were doing on the water, and it really benefited me a lot. And I'm talking about years I spent doing things wrong just to figure out how to do them right. And I'm still doing things wrong, constantly trying to perfect the art of fly fishing. So if you found any of this useful, make sure that you hit the like button. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure that you hit that subscribe. Again, check out some of my other videos. It's not always about fishing. I do a lot of different things on this channel. So I appreciate all the views. I appreciate all the likes and comments. And I'll catch you on the next video. So thanks for watching. Did I really just do that whole video with stuff in my beard?